In this video, we're going to go over some details for the Principle BSDF. As you can see here, we have a material output under the object mode, and when we're doing texturing, the Principle BSDF is the one shader that you can cover 90% of work. So this is coming very handy for when we're texturing a specific materials. The purpose of this tutorial is to filtering out the noise of learning a 3D softwares. This is not designed to be a user manual for Blender, and we are going to point out the main functions were the one that actually help you creative lives to getting a little bit easier or better using Blender. So as you can see here, we have quite a bit setting on the Principle BSDF, but we're not gonna use these. We oftentimes we don't change these often either. So first columns we are going to use is actually the base color. The base color actually just referring to the color concept, the color layer that we have talked about in the previous concept section. So if we just gonna left click, you will see we have a color wheels right now, and then we can go with RGB way to select the color, or we can do the hue, saturation, and value to do the color pick, or we can even type into a hex number code to really pick a color. Here, this is pretty straightforward, and we've been using this quite a while. And one shortcut I really want to let you guys know is, and you just move your mouse cursor to the base color, hit the E key, and suddenly you have a eyedropper tool. So basically you can sample any color, and you can quickly change the materials. And the good thing about this, you're not just going to sample color anything in here. You can actually sample anything within this Blender space. So see, you like the green color right here, you can do so. It's pretty interesting, and it's very easy and quick to getting some reference color that you want. And in this way, you can easily to getting some kind of reference number or color that you want accurately. So the next thing we want to look over is the subsurface color. So this is not a huge lot. We don't use this very often unless you are really texturing some special materials, have a kind of like a semi-translucent type of feeling. If I'm kind of zoom in this material and drag this more space for this, we can see we have some lighting going on here. If I'm actually changing this color to a little bit different color like green, and you don't see a whole lot of changes on here. So for this kind of round shape, and it doesn't have like a significant lighting through from the backlit, the other side, the backlit, it doesn't really take a whole lot of effect. And it can be a little bit tricky when you doing some texturing and to see that. For example, if I'm just dragging some reference image right here, so this is basically what the subsurface scattering works for. As you can see here for the ears, when the light is hitting from the back side, it's actually trying to passing through the certain materials in this face, and especially kind of like a ear or hands. And usually you need some subsurface color to representing the texture a little bit better. But usually for product photographer or designers, we don't really need to mess up with all these settings, just kind of creating that effect, unless you're doing something really photorealistic and you're trying to achieve that result. But the majority of the time, the subsurface color, you can just set a default. Okay, so we can just go with the default color, should be fine. So next thing we will be the metallic. So watch what's happening. We have a color, and right now we are setting metallic to 0, which means this is a non-metal items or texture. If I'm just dragging this all the way to 1, it becomes a metal surface. Although you will see we have some sort of roughness going on here, but this is kind of like a rough metal. It's not a super realistic, but this is kind of how it works by now. So the metallic part, I really want to point it out. You either put in 0 or 1. So your material, either is a metal or non-metal, or dielectric, that's people call that. But you can just choose 0 or 1, so don't mess up with that too much. So the specular is often just kind of the highlight part, and we can just kind of dragging that to control the highlight a little bit better. For my personal experience, so I think default 0.5 it works just fine. The things that actually make it quite a bit different is the roughness. If I'm kind of dial, if I'm zooming in here, you can see that it's kind of have a little bit of like softness on the light. If I'm drag this roughness to the left, you actually can see it's very smooth surface, and then actually it become very reflective. It's reflecting the entire room. Okay, that's what's going on here. And if I'm going inside here for the world settings, if I'm using the mapping function to kind of rotate this map on the z-axis, so you can see watch what's happening. So it's actually changing the lighting directions. Also looking from the reflections, you know this world or this HDRI is spinning. Okay, so that's kind of cool, and I want you guys to be aware that the roughness is something that very important. In the real world, there's nothing is super ultra smooth, so you need to adjust the roughness accordingly. Okay, that's kind of cool, right? And then the next thing we're going to do, just quickly mention that the sheen is usually talking about when you're working with fabric materials. It doesn't adding a whole lot to my perspective or taste. It just been there, and it's not a whole lot of usage for my workflow. So I just want to be here. Another thing I want to point out is the clear coat. Think about it. If you have some certain materials that need to have another layer of clear coating, it feels like it's on the nail polish, I think will be a little bit better, because sometimes ladies will having the nail clear polish as a finished clear coating on their nail. So this is how it works. So if I'm just dragging the clear coating all the way to 1, so you can see here this, although the underlayer surface is still kind of rough, however there is another layer of coating on the top, and you will see some reflections clearly from the 3D environment. And this is what the clear coating does. And you can even adjusting the clear coat roughness, and you can make it a little bit minor, and that's kind of neat, right? So it's kind of, right now, it feels like this is more like a bowling ball in certain type of feeling, right? It's kind of reflecting, but it's not that super rough anyway, but you can see the texture. So you can do something about it, and clear coating and clear roughness. And the next thing we're going to go is the IOR. Again, it is not invest of a return, but definitely the reason you're learning this course is trying to getting your clients to get a more invest of a return when they hire you to doing the creative service. But for us here, this IOR means index of refraction. And speaking of index of refraction, here is a website that is going to be a great resource for you, and you can just type this website in to show you all kind of materials with IOR. So the common ones we use, for example, we can just search, go ahead, we can do just diamond, think about that, hit D, and then kind of go here, and we're just gonna go diamond. So we're just gonna put in here. And interesting about this IOR, usually has a range, so it's a minimum and a maximum. Especially when you're creating some material that you want to have accurate IOR, this is a great resource for you to kind of look it up. If I want creating gold, I can just hit G and go find the gold. If I can find it, I think we're gonna have glass or gold. So you will see that's going to be the 0.47. And what you're gonna do here, which you can just kind of put in here as 0.047. And then this is kind of gold IOR, but definitely you need to change the color towards the gold color, and also change it around the roughness a little bit more. So that looks more like a gold texture to me. And I will go over more details for the details of the metal. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the emission. We have a separate emission shader, Shift A. We actually have that emission shader. This basically, this thing is just going to plug in, making sure it's going to change. It's going to turn your mesh to be a lighting source. So this is going to be a light source if you just simply plug in the emission shader. If I'm going to have another plane, you will see it's illuminating the plane. See, there's a shadow in here. If I hook this background, you will know this is becoming a light. Okay, so this is what emission shader does. And because I've cut off the entire space, so it actually is only illuminating through itself because the emission shader, this mesh, it become a light source. And what I can do here, if I just plug this thing back without lighting, you don't see anything under the render view because we don't have a light inside here. But having the emission shader, you can just quickly change the color to actually turn your mesh to a light source, just like the emission shader. And the strength is just the power, how light it is. Usually I don't recommend you guys to do this on here, but it's just an option in here. Okay, cool. So next thing, let me hook the thing back. This is called a lazy connect. After you enable the node wrangler, you can hold Alt and right click. You see there's a line coming in, and release your right click, then it's automatically connect. So you really don't need to kind of plug this one by one. All right, so another thing, you can hit Control and right click and just draw a line that you see a knife. You can simply quickly cut it. Okay, so that's how you work faster when you texturing. There's small tips, but it's very useful. Okay, so now hit X to delete that. We're gonna go down here. So the alpha, everything else, we will do that later when we're working with the logo textures. We'll show you what alpha means. And the normal is definitely the where to hook the normal map. And the clear code normal, that's another thing. We don't really deal too much about it. A couple more things we might need to use is the volume. So the volume is somewhere that we're gonna use in volumetric shader to do that. So we're working with volumetric. So that's another areas to do, because right now the shader is directly talking about the surface, but we have texture that we can do in the volume. But however, this is going to be covered in our bonus section. This is not really photorealistic material that we will use very often when you do product rendering. And another third thing is the displacement map. This is where we're gonna plug in the displacement map into here, and apparently these are the major three input section for the material output. Okay, so basically we covered the majority of the Principle BSDF. In the next video, we're going to talk about some built-in node texture inside Blender.